Liz Ann Saunders, which of these numbers, if any, is the one to watch for the 2000 markets?
I think it's still inflation, or actually the lack thereof. I think the power of this information revolution, the internet economy, and what it's done to the inflation rate. As long as you keep corporate profits up, which I think will be good, I think a low inflation number will be the key to success.
Well, since you've isolated that one for us, tell us what's going to happen. Is inflation going to be a real problem?
I do not think it will be. I guess the only people who have some concern about inflation over the near term are those that think oil prices will stay up where they are. And I actually think that oil prices probably overshot on the upside a little bit and will come down. But again, I think the whole technological revolution is going a long way to keep that inflation in check.
And we had an oil expert on a few months ago, and he said he thought the oil price was going to be a lot higher, probably average $18 this year. Instead, it was 50% higher.
You know, I think that because you tend to overshoot both on the downside, and we certainly did last year, I think you've probably overshot a little bit on the upside. But I think mostly it's a technological revolution that's going to have a beneficial impact on inflation.
John Kim, what's your choice?
Well, the stock market paid zero attention to interest rates this year. I think it's going to pay greater attention. And if the long bond goes over 7%, that could be problematic. I think the Fed is going to tighten. It's going to tighten a couple times by springtime. But if they maintain a tightening bias, that could be quite problematic for the broad markets.
Let me do to you what I did to Liz Ann. What's going to happen to those bond rates?
I actually think that oil prices, not being an expert in oil, will actually fall, and that's going to be a nice driver for inflation coming down during the course of the year, and that's going to cause the Fed to again tighten a couple times, but will maintain a neutral bias for the rest of the year, and that's going to create a nice rally in bonds, and that's going to fuel the momentum, continued momentum in stocks.
You think rates are pretty near as high as they're going to get? Long-term rates?
It might get to 6 3/4 at the highest. It'll be a problem at 7, but after that, I think it's going to fall for the rest of the year.
Don Dessar, what are you looking for?
Well, I'm looking at the dollar, Lou. And what I worry about is that the trade deficit continue to grow, and that might tip the dollar over and give us a weak currency. And I think that would be a serious problem for financial markets here and elsewhere.
So you are a little concerned that maybe the year won't be that sanguine, huh?
Well, my personal forecast is that the Fed will tighten, and that will cause a dollar to actually get much stronger, breaking through the 1-to-1 on the euro. If I'm right, then we're all going to be happy campers a year from today, and I would just watch that trade deficit in dollar for any signs of trouble.
Laszlo?
I think the yield curve is telling us that the economy is going to be weaker rather than stronger, and the Fed might not do anything, which I think would be a real surprise and probably a pleasant one. So I'm going to be watching that very closely, so I think the economy would get my vote.
You don't think an economy can keep on charging forward with interest rates this high?
I don't think it can be quite the consensus forecast of 2.5–3%.
All righty, now comes the moment of truth when we turn the spotlight on what these folks said 12 months ago. And I must say that again this year it's tough for me to crack much of a whip. For in what has been for decades the toughest competition in investing, the list cannot be changed for any reason during the ensuing 12 months. Even the average performance of all our panelists walloped both the Dow and the S&P, recording a gain of better than 31%. But the best of the bunch was Liz Ann Saunders. Liz Ann, you were way too conservative in your Dow predictions. You thought we wouldn't get above 10,300 in 1999, for example. But golly, could you pick stocks? According to calculations by our friends at Bloomberg Financial Markets, your 11 stocks not only all rose, with 4 doubling and 1 tripling, but your average gain for the entire list was an astounding 107%. With the arrival of your second child just days away, you should have much to celebrate in the new year.
Thank you.
John Kim, like Liz Ann, you earned a coveted place on our New Year's program in just your second year as a panelist. Your Dow prediction was about 1,000 points shy of today's close, which was less than 3 points below 11,500, a number which incidentally was predicted on the nose by both Ralph Acampora and Harvey Eisen. But your list of 9 stocks gained about 64%, helped, as was Liz Ann, by the more than tripling of Oracle. So way to pick 'em, champ.
Thank you.
John Dessar, to prove that you don't have to be a near rookie to make it big on this program, you are tonight making your 3rd appearance in our year-end top 4. While your Dow predictions were way too conservative, your list of 8 stocks vaulted an average of more than 60%, led by the 318% jump in LSI Logic. So keep on doing what you're doing.
Thanks, Lou.
But Laszlo Birinyi, if 3 visits to our New Year's show is impressive, what can I say about you? Tonight's is an unprecedented achievement. You're 6th in the past 8 years. You had the market's direction just right, though you were uniquely over-optimistic on the Dow's high, where you never did make it above 12,000. You balanced that by undershooting the low, which was actually a hair above 9120. Frank Cappiello's 9200 forecast was the closest on that one. But your list of 12 stocks was firing on at least 12 cylinders, up about 55%. You had LSI Logic too, and that didn't hurt. Keep this up, and you'll make this competition look as easy as Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. But enough with the compliments, however well earned. There's a new year ahead, and what have you done for us lately? For starters, in our annual triumph of hope over experience, let's have from each of you the true inside word on the highest close, the lowest close, and the final close for the Dow Jones Industrial Average in 2000. And this time, gang, let's all get it exactly right. Liz Ann?
See what we can do. For the Dow, high of 14,300, low of 10,200, and a close of 13,600.
Gosh, I can hardly wait. John Kim?
High of 14,000, low of 10,900, and we'll close at the highs at 14,000.
Sounds like an eBay auction. John Dessauer?
The high, I think, will be only 13,163, a low of 99.58, and a close at 12,986.
A more modest year. Laszlo?
14,000 for a high, a low of 11,000, and a close of 13,995.
I see. So that leaves John with the 14,000. Okay. Now you know they don't conspire. Well, one thing is for sure, and this is my only personal unqualified guarantee of the night, at least some of them will be wrong.